So in the previous segment, we looked at negative externalities, how efficiency is affected if the negative externality is caused by the consumer, in which case the marginal benefit decreases. Then we looked at, prior to that, we looked at what if the negative externality is caused by producers. And we said the solution was to tax the firm. Now that we've looked at negative externalities, let's look at positive externalities. Just to remind ourselves, how do positive externalities get into the picture? If there's a positive externality, the marginal external benefit will not be zero. So there will be a marginal external benefit. A positive externality can be caused by a firm. If we go back to my wonderful diagram, this firm caused some acid rain because of the chemicals it emitted into the atmosphere that happened to benefit a certain type of crop, and this farmer had an increase in their production based on this acid rain. It had nothing to do with the production of the acid rain, but got a benefit for free. We call that a positive externality. Can be caused by producers, can be caused by consumers. Let's first look at what could happen if a negative externality a positive externality is caused by consumers. How that equilibrium will be affected if a positive externality is caused by producers. For example, the acid rain that fell on the farmer and therefore benefited the farmer for free. Okay, how do we work this out? Focus on the first term, positive externality. Positive externality is marginal external benefit. So the issue here is the market has failed to take an external benefit into account. For lack of a better word, I'm just going to call this green technology. I can't think of a better term for the acid rain falling on the farmer. So let's just call this green technology. The chemical that was released happened to be of benefit to those plants. Okay, now it's caused by the producer. So whether you need to address demand or supply, you need to think, who's the person causing the problem or benefit? It's the producers in this case. So you need to address supply. So just so you don't get yourselves confused, because there's 4 cases to look at, you need to systematically understand the 2 different sides of the story. The first side is you need to decide, is it positive or negative? The second is, who is the causer, if you like? The causer tells you which curve you need to address. If it's caused by producers, you need to address supply. If it's caused by consumers, you need to address demand. If it's a positive externality, it's external benefit. If it's a negative externality, it's external cost. Now, what do you think? What will happen to the cost if there's a benefit that's coming for free? Does the benefit increase the cost for society, or does the benefit decrease the cost? Well, when we did external costs caused by a producer, we said the external cost caused by a producer increases the cost to society because that's an additional cost. So if there's an external benefit caused by the producer, rather than increasing the cost for the rest of society, it actually decreases the cost for the rest of society. So in this situation, the marginal social cost is actually lower than the marginal cost. We need to subtract the external benefit. So the intuition is, it's not a cost, it's a benefit. A benefit is the opposite of a cost. So if you add a benefit to a cost, if you include a benefit on top of cost, the cost will actually not go up. The overall cost will actually go down by the value of the benefit. So the marginal social cost is actually lower than the initial marginal cost we began with. So I'll draw a lower marginal social cost curve compared to before. Again, since we're looking at only benefits here, I'm going to assume the external cost is 0. Otherwise, we'll analyze too many things at a time. So I'll assume the external cost is 0. So I'm not going to do anything to the marginal benefit curve. So demand is marginal social benefit. Okay, now this should be clearer to you now that we've looked at two versions of this. Where was the firm to begin with? The firm was here. This was the market equilibrium. That's where the firm was. The original supply curve and the original demand curve. The firm was producing Q star, and the firm was charging P star. The firm actually didn't take the external benefit into account. They were giving the farmer a benefit for free. If the farmer actually had to pay for their benefit, we actually are underproducing at the moment. We need to take that benefit into account. We shouldn't just be producing here. We should actually be producing a larger level of output, which intuitively makes sense, because if there's a benefit that we're not taking into account, the market should be actually producing more of this product, not less. And the market should actually not be charging P star, it should be charging a lower price. Intuitively, we should be encouraging the production of this good by producing more and charging less. Again, we call this the allocatively efficient or socially optimum point. You can use the term allocatively efficient, you can use the term social optimum. Either is fine. So, market equilibrium is where the firm is. Social optimum or allocative efficiency is where the firm should be. The firm is here, society is here, but we should be here. We should be charging less and producing more. So what's the market failure here? The market failure is the firm underproduces and overprices. That's what the firm is doing at the moment. Yeah? When I say what's the failure, I'm referring to the equilibrium, the market equilibrium. The market equilibrium, the firm is producing Q star, which is less than QEFF, Q efficient. They should be producing this, but they're producing less. They should be charging this, but they're charging more. What's the solution? How do we reduce a firm's costs and therefore encourage them to increase production? We can reduce a firm's costs and encourage them to increase production by the opposite of a tax. The solution here would be to give a subsidy to the firm. Subsidize the producer. If you gave the firm a subsidy for their production, you're giving them money, therefore you will reduce their costs. Remember the size, the distance, this arrow, the length of this arrow is the marginal external benefit. So if you gave them a subsidy that was equal to the marginal benefit, you would reduce their marginal costs and thereby encourage them to produce more and charge less. So that was when a positive externality was caused by producers. And the last possibility is a positive externality caused by consumers. Okay, let's work this out step by step. So, two terms we need to address. First, you ask yourselves, is it a positive or a negative externality? It's positive, so it's a marginal external benefit. The market is ignoring a certain external benefit. Let's say vaccinations. The positive externality is caused by vaccinations when consumers take a vaccine. Because if they take a vaccine, the chances of their colleagues, their friends, their family getting sick will be lower. So, we've addressed the fact that it's an external benefit. The sun has decided to shine on us. So, consumers. Consumers must be demand. So we need to address the position of the demand curve. Now remember, demand is marginal benefit. What's going to happen to the position of the demand curve? Okay, let's see. It's an external benefit. It's caused by consumers, so the issue is demand. If it's an external benefit and it's marginal benefit demand, so you've got benefit and benefit. Do you have more benefit or less benefit after the external benefit? There's a benefit here, there's a benefit here. So benefit, benefit, we have actually more benefit, not less. So if the external benefit, which is a positive externality, it's caused by consumers, which is marginal benefit, there's a benefit there, there's a benefit there, we have more benefit than before. So actually, the marginal benefit curve will be higher because we have more benefit than before. So our marginal social benefit curve is higher than before because we've added more benefit to this story through the marginal external benefit. So here, marginal social benefit is the original marginal benefit on the consumer who purchased the vaccine and benefited from the vaccine, plus the external benefit on everyone else who didn't purchase the vaccine but benefited anyway from this vaccination. Now, as always, we're only doing one at a time, so I am assuming the external cost is 0 in this case. So I'm not going to do 2, we'll just leave the supply curve as it is. Supply is marginal social cost now, if I ignore external costs. Okay. So you should be okay by now. This is where the firm is at the moment, the original equilibrium. So just so you don't confuse yourselves, always whatever was the first equilibrium point is the market equilibrium. Whatever was the first equilibrium point is the market equilibrium. Whatever is the second equilibrium point after you address the externality is the allocatively efficient point. Or the social optimum. So, as you can see, we should be producing more, which is intuitive, isn't it? Because it's causing an external benefit, we should be producing more of this product, not less. So the problem is, the market failure is, the firm is underproducing this product. The problem here is the firm is underproducing this product. How do we encourage more production of this product? Just like before, with a subsidy. You encourage more production of this product through using a subsidy. Except in this case, the subsidy should be given to the consumer to encourage them to consume more and therefore encourage producers to produce more. If you give the subsidy to consumers, sometimes the subsidy may be the full amount, so some vaccinations end up being free. A couple of years ago, there was the swine flu scare around the world, and most governments around the world gave the swine flu vaccine for free. So the subsidy could be the entire amount, depends on the product. As long as the subsidy equals the marginal external benefit, i.e. the height of this arrow, so we need the subsidy to equal the marginal external benefit. And if it equals the marginal external benefit, the marginal benefit curve demand will shift up. It looks like the price goes up, isn't it? Because you've pushed the demand curve up, the price actually looks higher than before. But that's counterintuitive because you don't want people to pay more, you want them to pay less. But remember, that's P2, but they're getting the subsidy from the government, so effectively they actually pay less than that. They're actually paying P2 minus the subsidy. They're paying a lower price, even though the demand curve has shifted up and thereby increased the price. The subsidy is actually not their money. That is provided by the government, so effectively they're paying less compared to P star. So the market failure here is the firm is underproducing and the firm is actually overpricing. So most of this, the results are actually quite intuitive. If it's something good, we should be charging less and we should be producing more. How do we correct it in this case? We need a subsidy. Who do we give the subsidy to? Well, it's caused by the consumer, so we should give it to the consumer. So, there is a logic in all of these cases. If you look systematically, positive externality is always marginal external benefit. Negative externality is always marginal external cost. If it's an external cost by consumers, it reduces the marginal benefit, so you minus. If it's an external cost caused by producers, it increases the marginal cost because supply is marginal cost, so you add. If it's an external benefit caused by producers, producers is supply, so marginal cost. A benefit and a cost, so they're opposites, so it should reduce. If it's an external benefit caused by consumers, consumers is demand, so marginal benefit, 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 so you add. So if you like, as a rule of thumb, if they're the same side, benefit, benefit, add, cost, cost, add, but if it's opposites, benefit, cost, you should subtract. Don't try to memorize it, try to understand. Are you adding more benefit to benefit? Plus. If you're adding more cost to cost, plus. If you're adding benefit to cost, you'll reduce the cost. If you add cost to the benefit, you will reduce the benefit. If you think intuitively, it's actually probably one of the most intuitive topics and probably one of the most topical because you see it's current government policy actually enacted based on these ideas, like the carbon tax, for example, which is an externality, a negative externality caused by producers. So if you think intuitively, it actually makes more sense.